Confessions from the Darkside presents 2023 Reflections and what to expect in 2024. I'm Lunar Rising.
And I'm Darcy Darkness.
Today we are in 2024, so Happy New Year, guys, for first and foremost. Today we are reflecting on how bad 2023 was in movies, and obviously horror movies, of course. But before we get started, get this disclaimer out the way, shall we?
Yes.
We are full of so much adult content. Some may think it is unnecessary. Some of you may think that this isn't needed. If you are one of those people, then thanks for checking us out, but I will say this only once. If you can't stand the heat, then get the fuck out the kitchen. Now, for everyone else who likes what we have here, then regular scheduled programming will continue. Shall we get started? Are we ready?
Of course. Let's go.
The worst parts of 2023, but what to expect for 2024, and stuff that we figured we'd throw in there, what we wanted to do, and just kind of talk a little bit about it, what to expect that we're looking forward to in 2024, this upcoming year when it comes to movies, horror movies especially. Obviously, I mean, that's kind of us.
Our thing.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our thing. How was 2023 for horror? I feel like it was a big year as we had the 50th anniversary of William Friedkin's The Exorcist, and the crazy ton BS with Friday the 13th release still to this day discusses both Darcy and I. This movie is iconic. This was a Friday the 13th in October that lined up with the original release, but no, the tunt came in and The Exorcist moved for her re-released tour to the cinema. She ended up releasing it a day earlier because of the demand, yet they knew this would possibly happen, yet they chased this day, making her look like a giant hunt and no, not a nice human, all as this was in the works for a hell of a long time and has been around longer than the tunt herself. But I cannot get over the politics over it that just destroyed this for horror fans. And guys, if you guys don't know who we're talking about, it is Taylor Swift.
And we use
The
tunt because the C word, the stunt with the unt with the silent C, is a term of endearment in Scotland, and I'm not giving her it. That is why she's a tunt.
And here in America, it is actually a
An insult.
insult. So I will stick to the latter and use tunt.
Exactly. In Scotland, it means we like you if we call you, and in Australia too.
Yeah, so she ended up there was a big meltdown with the whole thing, and for Friday the 13th in October,
It wasn't just
for a
me; it
lot
was
of people,
everyone.
yeah, for everyone that was looking forward to the 50th anniversary of The Exorcist being released, it threw so much off because, one, we're getting a Friday the 13th in October. October is meant for the Halloween lovers, the horror lovers, the
Weirdos like us.
yes, weirdos like us. And when there's a Friday the 13th or October, that's big.
Got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, so with the whole situation with her,
Didn't have the same ring, did it? Friday the 6th of October. The
absolutely
movie
not.
being
So
released.
it was a big letdown, and honestly, it wasn't even the production company, the movie for The Exorcist that it was a letdown for. It was actually a letdown because they moved hers to Friday the 13th and then moved it a day ahead because of said demand. And
She could have just
it
had it
ended
on
up
the
turning
12th anyway. That's what you kept going on about. She could have
yeah,
had it on the 12th because everything was organised. All the promo and everything for Exorcist was planned for Friday the 13th of October, and it was getting everybody pure like hype for it. Whether the movie was shite or not, it doesn't matter. It was Friday the 13th in October, a 50th anniversary of the original humongous fucking exorcism possession film that there's ever been anniversary,
yeah,
and she thought that,
absolutely.
oh, I'm Taylor Swift and I'm a diva. I'm a nice guy. I'm nice. She's obviously not. The fact that she took them to court to fucking, have that date, it just shows she was basically having a temper tantrum like toys out the pram. That's the big thing for 2023 for me. Well, the big drama llama was that.
It was pointless to go to court to just have things moved around just for her. She is a diva. She is a crybaby. She is somebody who does not deserve to be able to do that, especially especially when this movie has been slated for the Friday the 13th spot for a long time. And it was absolutely ridiculous what she did.
Because all I want to say was that was the big thing for us in 2023. For a lot of horror fans, was when that shit show happened. But
Absolutely. And
we'll move
for
on to the more positive things that happened in
yes.
2023.
And this one is an amazing positive. Five Nights at Freddy getting sequels and Matthew Lillard is being the center of it with Blumhouse. That
Yay.
is a highlight worth noting.
For years to come.
Yeah, for years to come. Blumhouse production having a successful year in horror, paving the way to excellence in the horror community and bringing concepts of horror with simple and more relatable. A lot of stories and scripts of the movies aren't overly complicated, but the quality of them, well, they are setting a bar higher than anyone else. And I cannot wait to see what 2024 has in store for them and for the future. And that's absolutely true in a nutshell, because Blumhouse Productions throughout the years, when they first released their first movie that they've done, off the top of my head, I could not name it for you guys, but their productions have been simple, but the quality has been very well done for being in a modern time as we are today, to where a lot of horror movies don't have the jump scare qualities, they don't have the horror aspects that some of the classics like The Exorcist or Scream or
Friday the
any of the
13th,
original,
Freddy,
yeah, Friday the 13th,
Halloween.
any of those movies. Blumhouse production has kind of set the bar high because they are kind of taking us back in a
Yeah.
modern time.
Taking us back to a time that were movies, these sort of movies were what people were fucking talking about and not just me.
Exactly. And even though it's still based in a modern time, they still know how to give you the jump scares, the horror aspect that you miss because of being modern times. You don't look back at The Exorcist and see people on their phones 24/7 in horror movies, or even Scream for that matter. I mean, you rarely seen anybody on their phones back then when those horror movies come out. Now when horror movies come out,
That's centered around technology and what technology is, and that's what, again, we've said. They're taking simple concepts from past and bringing them into the future without overcomplicating them, and still giving you excitement and feeling overwhelmed when you're talking about them. I know for me, I get really overwhelmed when I'm talking about movies, especially Blumhouse, because they have done bigger films, but then they do kind of, it's like for every big film they do, they maybe have like maybe 4 or 5 like less popular, but they actually have better stories. And if you're taken in by, say, Megan, because they did Megan, then you go through some of the other movies that they've done, that kind of thing, if you get introduced to them from a bigger movie, I think that's really good for them. But I also do like the fact that they go back to the roots and actually do proper good stories that people can still be talking about.
yep.
And that's what we talk about quite a lot.
So, guys, just to give you a little tidbit of information about Plumhouse Production, their first movie was only slated and made for $15,000. Very, very cheap budget.
That's incredibly cheap for today's standards.
And it grossed close to $200 million worldwide.
That's why we said Blumhouse is the way
Yeah.
forward.
To be honest, I do believe past episodes, Darcy and I actually have talked about this movie, and it's not one of our favorite movies,
No,
but it shows what Blumhouse can do. And the movie in question is Paranormal Activity.
I know. I hate these films. I hate
Yes.
all that type of film because they're pointless. But I like the fact that they showed what they can do for 15K, basically.
Yeah, and yeah, just for 15K, that's literally what they can do, and how they've been doing with their movies has been absolutely amazing. And I mean, guys, their list of movies that have came out within the past years have been absolutely amazing. Like I said, their very first movie that they have done was Paranormal Activity, and they have kept with the Paranormal Activities, which is great. That was their first movie. That was their biggest, hit at the time. But Blumhouse has come out with Firestarter, the remake with Zac Efron, which, to be honest, wasn't a half bad movie. It was actually pretty good. Come out with Hush. Hush, I thought, was a brilliant movie. I don't know if you have seen Hush or not. Darcy, have you?
Yes, I've seen it, but it's one of those things where I actually see when I'm going to look for a movie now. I will just go look for, if I'm wanting to watch a horror that I haven't seen before, I tend to,
A little research on it.
yeah.
But they've come out with, again, I'm not going to go through the whole Blumhouse list, but they have come out with movies like Ouija, even some cornier movies like Happy Death Day. Even though Happy Death Day, for the premise of what the movie was, it was actually pretty good, and it was corny at the same time, but it was still good. They have done the Insidious movies. They have done the Purge movies.
Split did
Yeah.
Split as well. There have been some films where they've did where you don't actually think it's them. You would think it was someone else, but
Yeah.
Split was really good.
Yeah, and they've also done the trilogy of the last 3 Halloween movies. It's The Hunt, they already have slated for 2025 for Megan 2.0 to come out.
When Megan loses her shit as a teenager, I bet he is.
Right? Then they came out with the Unfriended movies. Now again, guys, I'm not a big fan of the camera shot movies because they're always shaky, but these ones are not so bad because they're usually set by a laptop or something from people sitting at a desk somewhere. So they're not so bad per se. I thought they were pretty good. They were pretty gruesome. I have yet to see it because it's a movie that I don't really think I would want to watch, seeing as it's kind of a sequel, but The Craft Legacy. The only thing that kind of throws me in the mix of wanting to watch it is because Blumhouse did it. Sinister, that's another big movie that they did. Sinister was a great movie. Get Out, if you guys have not seen Jordan Peele's Get Out.
Yeah, that's more of a cult as well. It's like
Yeah,
cultish type.
that movie right there is really good. It's a very, for today's,
The trailer was misrepresented, so it was because the way the way it was described. You find out it's a cult when you watch it. I don't think it was.
It's also with today's society and everything that has happened since 2020, it could be labeled borderline racist in a way.
Oh yes, it was. It definitely
But
was.
but here's the thing: is it's not racist in the way that you would think it would be.
No, because again, they're who act that way because that's the way they're brought up.
Yes.
That's society.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they've done movies that have great actors in it. Like Sinister had a great actor in it. Sinister had, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Ethan Hawke, right?
Sinister was the one that
Yes, Ethan Hawke.
they had. That was apparently supposed to be the scariest film ever, and I said I laughed. What does that say about me? That film had.
You're just as fucked up as I am in the head, but that's okay.
Yeah, I know it's okay. It's just other people are not okay with it.
Yeah.
If you laugh at horror films, it's fine. It's even been proven, from a psychologist point of view or psychiatric point of view, that it's okay to laugh because it's an escape. Especially if you laugh,
Exactly.
it means that you've been through enough in your own fucking life where you think that's funny. So don't let anyone
Exactly. And
ever
then
say that you're mental. It's not true.
then they've done movies like The Black Phone. It's a horror, but it's a thriller.
Yeah, it's not psychological.
Psychological thriller. Again, that's another movie that has Ethan Hawke in it.
What is Ethan Hawke being typecasted as a psychological thriller, dude?
Pretty
Not
much.
a shitty vampire from Blade.
Yeah, and then you got another one too that a lot of people. This is kind of an underdog movie that came out, but Truth or Dare.
It was okay, I suppose.
I liked it. I preferred it. It was different.
Do you have any Blumhouse in your top fives, both bads and goods? Tops and bottoms?
So for Blumhouse Productions for the top 5 in the goods, I'm gonna throw Truth and Dare as number 5.
Did that come out in 2023? It's not that he's unprepared, people. It's just that I didn't write his in because I didn't know what his was. So
No, but if we are going to talk about for this year's for the Blumhouse productions, Blumhouse has finally done something that most horror communities hasn't done these days, especially production companies. They have not stuck with the original scripts. And Blumhouse has shown and proved that if they're going to make sequels or if a remake or a reboot or whatever, that they can at least stick to the script. That I think I want to say they've done horror correct is the best way to put it. And that's one thing that Darcy and I, one of the reasons why we have love for Blumhouse Productions.
they keep it real. Not many people do these days. People want the money, they don't give a fuck about anything else. But Blumhouse, they seem to. It doesn't matter if it's a big budget or if it's got a little budget. If they've got a story and they know it's going to do incredibly well, then they seem to execute it better than big, massive production companies. So I'm really happy.
So, guys, this list is actually done by Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes is I think it's actually worse. I think that's more critical. I think, but they actually have people who actually may talk about actual things to do with film and not just because they love the actor in it. They actually talk about the way the script is and things like that as well. And yes, some people who do rate things can just be total douches, but hey, everybody's a douche about something that they care about. Might come across as douchey, but it's usually just passion.
Yep, and I mean, ranked best to worst, first one on their list is When Evil Lurks. I did watch this movie.
I don't know.
Quite honestly, visually, the whole premise of the movie itself is very unsettling. And I mean unsettling in a good way. It's got that creepy aura about it throughout the whole movie. I honestly thought it was pretty damn good. The second one on this list, Bone Woman, did not watch. The third one, Attachment, I have not seen. I'm on
The
number
Bone
4
Woman.
now.
Talk to me.
Talk to
Classic
me.
thing. Yeah, it says apparently it's a 21st century horror yarn built on classic foundations, which makes me want to watch it now.
I think I actually started to watch this. I never finished it because I think I had
That's never
either
good.
started it. I think I had. Well, I had started it. I think first thing in the morning, right when I was getting ready for work,
Oh,
and I
right,
ended up
that's
having to
fine.
leave.
Can you start off with I was about to leave for work and I had it on rather than I started watching it, then I switched it off kind of thing? It made me think, oh, shit, it's shit, isn't it? It's shit and it's number 4. How the fuck could that happen?
I will start that the next time. Number 5 on this list, guys, is Megan. Now, if you guys have been following us, you guys know that I recently just finally watched Megan because I got getting yelled at by Darcy about not watching it, even though she has yet to watch The Green Inferno that I've been so diligently trying to get her to watch.
I don't always get to watch films because my child, I don't want him to see it.
I mean, this is true, and I can at least give you that. And I know once my son hits that age, I'm gonna not watch movies when he's around. So,
Yeah,
but Megan was actually a very good movie, and
it was.
honestly, being at the number 5 spot, it made the top 5, and that actually is worth something. Influencer, couldn't tell you that I seen it. It's literally about
I've
social
seen a
media
trailer. Yeah.
influencers.
Yeah, but see if you've seen the amount of crap that's coming out about social media influencers, the amount of there's what someone who's going to jail for like child abuse basically in America. The stuff like you see a fake life. That's what's pretty much in showing you how things can turn. And again, you don't need to be an influencer for that to happen. Be successful and then random some shit happens. But it's again taking a concept. The influencer wasn't a job 20 odd years ago. Because again, or even 30 odd years ago, when we all had our movies coming out, showing you things about a concept that people could believe, or it's more believable, like again, religion and horror type movies. This influencer is basically something for this generation to show you basically a simple concept about something that's happening now. People can relate to it, people watch and follow influencers so they understand and they can think, holy shit, that took a twist. You know what I mean? So that's what I like about the fact that movie is literally a 21st century take on like a whole type of serial killer type thing or
Yes.
killer type thing.
Number 7 on the list is Brooklyn 45. I have heard very little of this movie, but on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 90%. So I may delve into it, even though the cover photo for it looks to be a little childish.
But sometimes childish looks can be deceiving, although I did say if the cover is shite, I'm not watching it.
Number 8 on this list, guys, is another Blumhouse movie. So 2 Blumhouse movies ended up making it in the top 10. This one is Totally
I've seen
Killer.
it.
87% on Rotten
Have you seen it?
Tomatoes. I have watched half of it, and that's only because I ended up having to leave. So that's another one that
Oh,
I ended up having
I've
to leave.
watched it. I've watched it, and it was literally like Freaky Friday meet Friday the 13th type
So
thing.
it's basically like that movie that came out
Yeah, the
called
babysitter.
Freaky.
Or
Well,
was it
no,
not more than the
I was
babysitter?
gonna say Freaky, where the serial killer and the girl end up switching bodies.
Like Freaky Friday? Yeah, I've seen the
Yeah,
cover of that. It looks really dark.
that I actually did watch that. I thought it was actually pretty good. It was kind of corny, but it was pretty good.
Totally killer. I'm not a big fan of Kiernan Shipka. She played Sabrina on Netflix, but it's a
Yeah,
really good movie. I feel like predictability. If you're
yeah.
into
I
predictability scare, then it's for you.
and I can definitely agree with that because, like I said, I ended up watching half of it before I had to leave,
You
and
could
it
probably figure
definitely,
out what happened. You probably knew what
yeah,
happened by the time you left halfway through. So
yeah.
that's fine.
Next on this list at number 9 comes in called The
Which
Blackening.
sounds so racist.
Well, I mean, yes, but the synopsis for the movie as well, literally the blackening, it does center around the whole Juneteenth movement. So it definitely does have a little bit of seems like a little
Satire.
bit of a little bit of a racy thing behind it. And I don't know if I haven't seen it, so I can't say much about it.
Do you know what it
But
reminds me of? The cover. If you just took the We Can't All Die First away and put Scary Movie in front, Scary Movie, The Blackening, that's what I get from the cover.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it would kind of have a scary movie preference to it. Yeah, I definitely see that. But I
Now you
mean,
can't unsee it.
it's got 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I don't have Peacock, but number 10 on this list got a 80%, 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's called Sick. And the cover for it definitely looks like it's got a gentleman wearing one of those plague masks.
Actually, it looks just like a normal mask, but they've got like a hood similar to what I wear when I stream. And then it's
Yeah,
half in
yeah, I
a
can see that.
house,
Yeah.
and then it's a knife on top of the house and in blood, and it's a red cover and it's all dark apart from the knife and the mask.
So next, we're not really going to give too much of a description of, but 87% for number 11, which is called Infinity Pool. It does have Alexander Skarsgård in it.
Well, and
I
Mia
have
Goth.
not seen it.
I'll,
Same with
I'll watch it for Eric. That's probably about it.
yeah, that I could agree with. The next on the list is number 12 is The Wrath of Becky. 86% got Lulu Wilson and Sean William Scott. And I am sorry, but anything that Sean William Scott is, I can't take seriously, even if it's a horror movie. So I
She
doubt
looks
I'll
like
watch it.
Amber Heard. She looks like Amber Heard. That's what off put me right
A
there.
little
It's like
bit,
not
yes.
watching that. She looks like Amber Heard. Sorry, Lulu, if that's you, but you look like Amber Heard.
Yeah. Next on this list, at number 13 at 85% is The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster.
That is some
I'm gonna
title.
skip past that one and not even
Yep.
go into that.
I'm not going
Uh,
into that either because I'm just like,
no.
no. That movie
The
was
next
shite.
on this list is
Shit,
Evil Dead
shit,
Rise at
shit.
80-40%.
Did I get 84%?
I,
You
you
tell
know,
me it was
I
for
don't
the
even know.
effects. Maybe the
I,
effects, but not
I'm probably
for.
gonna assume that they were for the effects. Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie to you. I've watched it. I never finished the movie. I couldn't finish the movie. I didn't care for it.
I just wanted to give it a chance because,
Tried. I have actually tried watching that movie 3 times. The first time I watched it 3/4 of the way through. The second time I only made it. Second and third time I only made it halfway through. I just couldn't do it. The
imagine
effects were great. I mean, if you guys are all for the effects of movies,
I do love them, but
the
again,
effects are beautiful in that movie. First things first, it's not an Evil Dead movie.
no, it's definitely not. Don't let them say that it's like it. It's nothing like it.
It may have the title of Evil Dead, but let's face it, the remake they did was better than this movie. And Darcy and I hate remakes to begin with, and the movie was shit, but it was
I
better
don't
than this
want to
movie.
watch this again.
Yes.
Like, please don't make me. Can you imagine us
And
watching
then
all the films we don't like that we have to watch? How bad
yes.
that podcast would be.
And then number 15 on this list got 85%. It stars Heather Graham, Judah
Oh, she's
Lewis, Bruce
awesome.
Davidson, and Jonathan Sheck. The cover of this movie, I have not seen it. It's called Suitable Flesh. I have
Looks
not
like the
seen it.
kind of looks like the 80s or the 70s the way they've done it like an old
Well,
VHS.
if you
Oh, there.
literally take
It
the
says
cover
80s.
and you add a pumpkin to the cover,
Halloween. Yeah,
it
it's
is
got that
a
glow.
Halloween movie.
It is.
It's literally an 80 inspired movie topped off by game performances, which great. The synopsis, just from what I can see without going into the whole thing, psychiatrist Elizabeth Derby becomes obsessed with finding young patients suffering extreme personality disorder. This is Halloween mixed with Identity.
It seems to be. But whether
So,
it was pulled off is another thing. I'd probably just watch it for Heather Graham, to be honest. Because well,
yes. So we are going to go one further and do a top 16 just because at number 16, 83% is Thanksgiving.
I was disappointed I couldn't get to stream that at Thanksgiving. So hopefully next year I'll be able to do it, whether I do it on YouTube or I do it through Discord. But I did stream a terrible Thanksgiving movie.
Yes, she did end up doing a terrible Thanksgiving movie that she streamed. I caught a little bit of it.
It was awful. It was terrible, and they actually used the tunt words in the first couple of sentences in the movie, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, Amazon Prime! I wasn't prepared for that." I was like,
And guys, also, that is one thing that we do plan on doing sometime this year, maybe a couple times this year. We do plan on streaming
yes,
excessively horrible movies.
yes, it's the worst rated ones on Prime, I think
Yes,
we said, or the worst rated ones on YouTube, so we can do commentary and have a laugh.
yes,
It will be
yes.
like a
So
getaway for us all.
we would love some of our listeners to actually join in with us to just have a laugh. this is,
On
we do this
Discord.
for you guys. Yeah, we definitely do this for you guys. We definitely do this to enjoy our company, as well as the listeners out there. If you guys would love to enjoy our company as well, just to have a good laugh of these horrible movies, especially if you guys are horror lovers and you guys just want to see the horrible shit that gets made and just
We'll
poke fun
probably
of
do
it.
polls on what movie do you want to see type thing, or if you
Absolutely.
want to actually join us on Discord and actually be streaming it on Twitch or Kick or whatever whenever we're doing it.
Yeah,
We'll do
absolutely.
that as well.
Next thing that we got for 2023, guys, is going to be a list of our top 5 love of horror movies throughout this.
Tops and bottoms.
Yes, tops and bottoms. We are not making a porn here, guys. This is tops and bottoms of horror movies. Top
I
5
was
that we
making
love.
an innuendo. Did you not get that? Did you just have to
Oh,
ruin
I
it?
did. I
It
did
was
ruin
an
it.
innuendo. It really was. And so is that word innuendo is an innuendo in itself.
Darcy, I will let you do your top 5 tops and your top 5
You're
bottoms.
keeping the disappointment to the end.
Yeah, we'll keep the disappointment to the end. Why not? We'll disappoint everybody at the end, especially if they liked any of the movies that we put up here.
Okay, and you can tell us in the comments below what your top fives, tops and bottoms, innuendos, etc. at the bottom and the comments. We love to hear them. So the top 5 loves of mine are number 5, Rainfield with Nicolas Cage. So I loved Rainfield. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's based on it as a comedy, dark comedy version of basically Renfield. It's his kind of like it's his way showing you what it is actually like to be with Dracula, isn't it? Technically, as his forever companion, and the shit that he's had to deal with because he's been promised eternal life forever, but he's basically just like still a bottom feeder, but technically has eternal life, but just not the eternal life of Dracula himself. So Renfield is Dracula's henchman, an inmate at the lunatic asylum for decades, longs for a life from the Count, his various demands, and all the bloodshed that comes with them. And it again shows you through time. It's Nicholas Hoult. That's who it's in it. There's like Ben Schwartz, and he's been in loads of stuff. He's always a funny guy. He was in like the After Party and stuff. I'm trying to think of the other people who are in it. I couldn't really pick the people that were in it because they didn't really pick big actors, but they were still good at what they did for, Aquafina is. Who the fuck's she? Renfield basically is a dark comedy, isn't it? Would you class it as a dark comedy horror? It's a very bloody horror, like comedy, because what they do is when they're killing people, like the bad guys, because the cops are basically what bad guys, aren't they? Because they're all in the pocket of the gangsters. Basically, they come in and instead of like ripping their hearts out like they would do like in again other vampire TV shows and movies, they're like just pulling them apart like they're nothing, like they're Play-Doh. Basically, just doing that. So like paper, basically, that's the way he does it because he even makes the noise. It's just like over the top and silly, but it's very bloody. And seeing Nicolas Cage as Dracula is fucking hilarious. There's no way about it. You've got to see Nicolas Cage as Dracula. And I just realised there's 2 Draculas basically on this list. So that's my number 5. Were you a fan of Renfield, or did you think it was just too spoof?
Liked it. I wouldn't put it in my top 5, but I did enjoy it.
There's something wrong with the children's Blumhouse, and I didn't speak about that when we were talking about the top 10 of 2023. This movie again, I watched it. It was just before Christmas. I actually watched it, and when there's a title of "There's something wrong with the children," when are the children ever okay in horror movies? Psychological thrillers, it's always the fucking Waynes. The Waynes are fucking possessed, or it's one of their fucking toys. It's always the fucking Waynes. Do you know what I mean? So when I seen the title, "There's something wrong with the children," I said I need to watch that, and it's basically about kids who go exploring on someone's land. They're in a holiday home type thing in the woods, and they end up shit happens to them. And they're not the same as they were after their wee adventure. And they do what most children do that are end up fucked up after a traumatic event. They just go on a killing spree, don't they? It's again got loads of aspects of you know what's going to happen, but you just don't know what how they're going to execute it basically, but it's a really good movie. It's not a long movie and it keeps your attention. I didn't use my phone once in the movie, so it just goes to show that I had enough attention. Did you see there's something wrong with the children? I know I'm moaned about it constantly.
I did end up watching it. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the concept of the movie.
It was simple because we always
It
know
was.
Waynes are mentalists in movies. And at number 3 for me, another Blumhouse. Yes, yes. Do I have a hard on for Blumhouse? I think so. I really think so. I think if I had a penis, I'd definitely be happy about this. So, FNAF, which is Five Nights at Freddy's. Again, I remember when they announced Five Nights at Freddy's, when they actually announced they were going to do that movie, and then it was so long ago that everybody had kind of forgot. And then when it was getting, just before it was released, that stupid Willy's Wonderland, that thing that Nicolas Cage was in, was something similar, but it wasn't. It was just a cheap knockoff before FNAF actually came out. But my son, don't judge me, he loves Five Nights at Freddy's, and he had one thing wrong with the movie. That's it. I'm not going to spoil it in case you haven't seen it, because it literally has came out in 2023, which was literally last week. Or yeah, last week was still December. So I liked it, I enjoyed it. And again, there's going to be more of them, and more Matthew Lillard, so we're very, very happy about that. You're a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's too? Yes, you were,
I
weren't
was.
you?
That I was.
The next one for me is The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Now, I was very upset to find out that this was not getting a sequel because it didn't do as well at box office as they were expecting. I think that the vampire boat has sailed, even though it's The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I think it has, but again, the movie itself was very good story, different take. A few bits in the movie that not cringe bad, but cringe when it's something to do with a kid, like in that sort of scenario. When you're a parent, you kind of, even though it's about vampires and stuff, it's still like, I don't want to see that. But because you're kind of protective when you see it. They made a movie that showed a part of Dracula that you only see briefly in Bram Stoker's Dracula, with Gary Oldman, with him travelling over. They talked more about the traditions and lore of Dracula and where he came from, where he was from, type things, the burden, the bad luck type things. So it was things that you didn't really see in a lot of Dracula portrayals. You did see it again in Luke Evans' Dracula Untold, again Bram Stoker's, but I feel The Last Voyage of Demeter really got screwed. Fucked. I really feel that people need to watch this movie, and it should have got a sequel because of the ending, because it left it open for one, and it left it with enough story and enough of a cliffhanger for you wanting more. So I don't know what they were fucking expecting for a movie that was never supposed to be what a Hollywood blockbuster, to get Hollywood blockbuster pulls, because not everybody understood that it was about Dracula. And if you don't really know anything about who Demeter was and all this type of thing, then of course you're not going to want to watch it. It had a really nice cover and things like that, but again, it still didn't draw lots of people to go see it, which is sad. I know you ended up watching it and enjoying it because we have spoke about it. You did, didn't
Yes,
you?
absolutely.
And you were disappointed, didn't you, because of the way the ending was.
Absolutely.
And my last one is no surprise what it was going to be. I've been speaking about it, well, since we started our podcast, most likely been talking about the one and only Russell fucking Crowe, the Pope's Exorcist. It was always going to be that movie because, again, great story. It is based in true events on an actual priest that did that as a job. It was not just talking about his job as performing exorcisms. It was being an observer, working for the Catholic Church, working for the Pope, and working with, what, I don't know, parishioners or people who believe in that sort of faith type thing, like observing whether it's mental health and all that. I like how they did kind of romanticize it a bit. It was very, very dark, and you got to see Russell Crowe being a good guy, evil, a wee bit cocky, and just a wee bit himself, even though he was a priest. But I really enjoyed the concept of the Pope's Exorcism, and I'm really happy out of my top 5, 2 of them are getting, I know for a fact, they're getting sequels. FNAF is getting 2 sequels, it seems, to make a trilogy, and maybe a third one, another film with Matthew Lillard. And The Pope's Exorcist is getting a sequel. I was really happy to find that out because, again, Russell Crowe's another actor. Sorry, Russell fucking Crowe is one of those actors that he is very good at everything he does. And he's one of those method actors who you believe that he's a beautiful mind and you believe that he loved slapping Ryan Gosling in the face and and good guys. And he was the gladiator. And then you've got him in The Pope's Exorcist kicking ass and becoming possessed and just battling good versus evil, and also kind of showing you the reality of exorcisms, possessions through a movie. What would you think of my top 5? And that one is my number 1. Well, you knew that was going to be my number 1, didn't you?
Did.
It's like, that was obvious. So what do you think? Did I choose wisely?
You did. Like I said, Renfield not exactly would be in my top 5.
It's Nicolas Cage. I can't help it.
I know. But yes, the Pope's Exorcist I would also clock in at number 1 for myself as well. The Last Voyage of Demeter, even though I hated how the movie ended, that would probably actually be my number 5. Five Nights at Freddy will be my number 2. There's Something Wrong with the Children will be my number 4. Number 3 spot, I don't have, to be honest, because there was so many ups and downs with movies this year or this last year that it was hard to choose what movies were actually good that deserved to be in a top 5. And having one that would be literally the middle ground of everything, to me, I couldn't find one. And it's not the fact that I didn't look. It's not the fact that I didn't try to research to see what I liked or stuff like that. It's the fact that this past year had more letdowns in horror movies, unless it was a Blumhouse movie,
But we are
than...
not sponsored by Blumhouse,
Yeah,
by the way.
we're not.
But if you
It's
want to,
we
then
have
we'll like take that, wouldn't
we
you
just
say?
have a lot of respect. Yes, absolutely. We just have a lot of respect for what Blumhouse has done.
And what they're going to do.
Yes. So again, it's hard to put a middle spot for me. But for the most part, minus Renfield, everything else that was on your list is on mine.
Apart from Renfield, yeah.
Yeah, apart from Renfield. But like I said, I just don't have number 3. I don't have that middle area that kind of was that balance between the worst part of my top 5 and the best part of my top 5. So it's just kind of one of those things that were like, I'm going to leave it blank. So I only technically have a top 4 because number 3 is going to be non-existent for me. Top 5 bottoms, because your top 5 bottoms, unfortunately, are the exact same as mine. Well, fortunately, not unfortunately.
That just
Even
goes to
though...
show how
Yes,
great
even
we
though
are.
the one movie that stands out for your the bottom 5 that I didn't enjoy because I didn't like it, I did enjoy at the same time just because of the actor, which would be Meg 2. I did not like it. It was not a great movie at all, but I liked it because of the actor, Jason Statham. So, anyways, going from this bottom 5 list, number 5 is a horrible letdown, which would have been Evil Dead Rise. And we don't even need to get into that because, well, it was a letdown in itself and it was not an Evil Dead movie. Number 4 on this list is yet another letdown, but at the same time, there's a bigger reason that it was a letdown. And it is number 4, The Exorcist Believer. And the two main reasons that, one, it was a letdown was because the first reason is going to be it was a 50th anniversary Exorcist movie. The second reason, we will praise them all day long, but Blumhouse Productions we expected a lot more from. And they are the ones who did this movie. At the same time, it's not completely their fault because there was a lot of other companies that were on this
Involved.
movie.
There was
Yeah,
2, I think 3 other directors, which again
yeah,
we said too many cooks. If they were doing it on their own, then fine.
yeah.
But
It
there's
would have
all
been
these other
better.
people, and it was just like you could tell with the movie kind of when it what kind of shifted. You could tell that there was
Yeah.
obviously more than the brothers doing it. Put it that way.
Yep. Number 3 on this list, again, like I had just said, Meg 2. Yes, it does classify as a horror. It's your typical Jaws-ish type horror movie. wasn't the greatest movie. I did enjoy it for Jason Statham's acting in it, but was the movie the greatest at in itself? Absolutely not. If you guys haven't seen Meg or Meg 2,
The first one's okay,
go ahead and
because
give it a watch. You guys might have a different opinion than what we have.
but it's not the second one.
Yeah,
I
the
thought it was
first one
very
was good.
Deep Blue Sea, but it was on everything's underneath.
Yes, but Meg 2 just kind of ventured out a little bit, and in
That was
in the opinion
terrible.
in the opinion of us, it didn't live up to the hype that Meg 1 did.
It definitely didn't. Even with Jason Statham, like, kicking arse
Yeah,
and just being himself, literally, again, he's a really good actor. He's been in some questionably shit films in 2023, including the
he
fucking
has.
Expendables. That film was fucking horrific. That should be on my fucking list of bottom horror, because that was horrific to watch. Car crash? No, I don't know what the fuck you'd call that. A plane crash? Who the fuck knows? A natural disaster? I have
Yeah,
no idea. It was awful. Sorry if you like awful, Teddy bad films, but I cringed so hard at that film that I actually cringed. I think I may have passed out, or I've actually asked my husband, "Can you turn this off? It's shit." I think I may have fell asleep. I think it was either fell asleep or turn this off now. It's shit.
there's been some movies that he's played in that, for his acting alone, they were great, but the production, the directing aspect of the movie, it was shit. His acting doesn't waver. He's always done some good acting, but when it comes to who is helming the project that he's in is where the questionable shit lies.
Yes.
But speaking of questionable shit, we're gonna go to number 2, which is Scream 6. And again, Scream movies have came so far in so many years, spanning from the 90s, that they eventually should have stopped a while ago, in my opinion. Because now they're getting too modern, they're getting too cheesy and corny, and they're just starting to regurgitate the same storyline over and over again.
Yes.
That's my feel on Scream. But again, like I had said, her top 5 are her bottom 5 are my bottom 5, and there's a reason why. Her and
We
I,
have the same bottoms. That just sounds wrong.
and the very one on this bottom list is going to be honestly no surprise, especially with the sequel, the remake, the stuff that they did with this movie. It was not the greatest at all.
Can they not just leave it? We've already had a
Yeah.
reboot and a kind of future with Rob Lowe, and that was, again, I was about 19 when, or 18, 19 when it came out. So it's over 20 years ago. It was out, I'm sure. So I bought it in DVD, and it's like you'd call Walmart, but it was like Asda. I bought it from there. I couldn't believe they had remade it to like kind of like mini series type thing. And it was terrible because they're trying to say Rob Lowe played the wee boy from Jerusalem's Lot and stuff. And I was just like, fuck off. Fuck
Oh,
off. Do you know what I mean? And then I see this,
yeah.
I'm just like, it didn't get much publicity, PR thrown at it. And I can understand why, because it was shite.
Yep.
And I
And
love
the movie.
Salem's Lot. It's one of my favourite. Misery and Salem's Lot are
Yep.
like
And
my
the movie
favourite.
we are talking about, guys, are Pet Cemetery Bloodline.
Yeah, we don't need any more. Just leave it. Just walk the fuck away.
Yes.
There's plenty of Stephen King universe that you've no fucking tapped into. Why don't the fuck you go over there and fucking check out what other shit there is? Because he's got plenty of short stories under Richard Bachman as well. They could fucking do stuff. They've done it in the past. They went into short stories. How the fuck do they need to just keep fucking remaking the same shit and making it shitter? I just, no. It needs to
So
stop.
definitely does. But those, like I said, guys, we have the same when it comes to our bottoms for specific reasons. We both understand and know movies in a different light than most people do, especially when it comes to horror, and especially when it comes to the regurgitated storylines over and over again without the research. So that's kind of exactly where we landed and why our five bottoms are the same. But guys, that does not need to say that we're not looking forward to what's coming in 2024.
I listed a few of the ones that most people are talking about, whether it's a sequel or prequel, or as finding
Exactly.
out people playing certain things at the moment. So we've done sequels, prequels, and remakes of 2024, and I've picked a few, and we're just going to read them out. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Also, we've got, what is it? Steamboat Willie. Is that not out? Is it Steamboat Willie? It's called. It's Rob Zombie's got it. That was the news
Yes.
we got just in the new year, wasn't it? Was it a few days ago, wasn't it? Or was it
Yeah, I
last
do believe
week?
I sent that through you through Discord, or yeah, through our Discord messages. It's definitely going to be called Steamboat. It's basically taking a very, very bad turn on the original cartoon Steamboat Willie.
It was very racist.
So, yes.
But obviously not for Rob Zombie. It'll just make it very, very dark, and hopefully doesn't monster slash do Rob Zombie it. Put it that way. Hopefully he just does something different. Shows you can do better. We've got The First Omen, which is a prequel to the actual movies, even though technically in the Omen pentology, the original pentology before they started releasing other things, they did go into the history of the stuff that was wrong with Damien, like his dad did, or his biological father of the boy. You know what I mean? Damien, basically. So he did do research and stuff. It showed you his father doing that. So I don't know. It's apparently the first, child that's going to bring forth the devil or whatever. I don't know. But it's the fact that it's getting kind of some traction that it's like, oh my god, it's a prequel to The Omen. We've had TV shows. Now we're doing a prequel from a different sort of standpoint. It's the first one. We talked about it earlier. The Strangers is getting like rebooted. Fucking stop. I don't think those movies are really great. We've also got A Quiet Place Day One, and we've spoke about that before. The inconsistencies of that movie. If this is going to be before the actual aliens or the beings or whatever the fuck they are, maybe it's from when the world was normal, and then this catastrophic event happens. Obviously, I don't understand why people want to fucking see this movie or any more movies in this type of silent BS shit, but it's happening. So 11 again, it will be something you can have on in the background probably, and you'll probably still be able to work out what the fuck is going on because it's the same old BS. Terrifier 3 again, for me it's the kind of same stuff, isn't it? Obscure looking clown guy who's obviously terrorizing everyone. No one's left behind. Nosferatu. If you thought Skarsgård ruined Pennywise for you, but he's going to ruin Nosferatu for you, isn't he? Yes, 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 he fucking is. As you can tell, I am so happy about that. Then we have The Conjuring Last Rites again. Do I think they could stop making The Conjuring? Yes, but will I still watch The Conjuring when they put the movie on? Yes. And another Stephen King, Salem's Lot, and I'm not happy about that. How do you feel about those movies that are being released in 2024?
Definitely looking forward to them. Definitely looking forward to seeing.
Have I just shat on them all as I did my
No,
discussion?
I mean,
I'm
I'm definitely
cynical.
looking forward to them. Definitely looking forward. This is what I'm excited for. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to these movies because let's face it, they can make the Saw movies over and over again, but it's torture porn. And let's face it, torture porn is always good in its own special way.
Especially if they're going to make us, especially when I thought about it, they could actually recreate something random that's kind of unique to that actual, see, like you had the bear trap or the reverse bear trap fig and all that carry on. I like it when they do kind of think outside the box. Maybe, I think Saw and The Conjuring and maybe The First Omen I'll watch, but the rest of them I'm just like, I think I'll probably go through the Blumhouse list and see what they've got for the year.
And the big thing too is like A Quiet Place Day One. I loved the Quiet Place movies, but I think they need a prequel, sort of, because they didn't give too much of a description about how the creatures or whatever they were got here.
The sequel shouldn't have happened before the prequel.
Exactly. So, will it be interesting to see them go back and do a prequel to it? Absolutely, because I would love to see what happened, what brought them here in the first place, if they even show that or anything like that. I think would make it worthwhile in a way. That's what I'm excited for. 2023 versus 2024, and the quality of horror being released isn't necessary. I don't think it's necessary at all, because the quality of horror, let's face it, we've discussed it numerous times, and we've also said we are not sponsored by them. They are the only production company, and when I say production company, I'm talking about Blumhouse. They are the only production company that has taken the simplicity of horror movies and brought it back to the days where it's modern but it's old school. It's back to where we need to be with horror. They are not trying to push the boundaries. They're not trying to exceed the amount of horror, because basically what ends up happening is you get a horror aspect, a horror aspect, a horror aspect through one singular movie. Then it becomes, oh, I got scared here, but the rest of the movie is laughable because now you expect it. Blumhouse does not do that. Blumhouse does what they do best, and it's keep it simple and put it where it's needed.
And that's how I
Um,
feel about all their stuff, because
yeah,
that's pretty much, I think that's what kind of like it's their mission statement. They're going to do it differently. They're going to do it their way, and they know something is missing in this genre, and they are just trying to fill in those plot holes that everybody created with their shit remakes, prequels, requels, and rebooting the whole universe to make their
yeah,
fucking narrative work. Blumhouse is doing it different.
absolutely. And that basically kind of answers the next question that's on our list, which is, are they churning out sequels and remakes to fill a gap in the genre? And again,
Yes.
it's a yes. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They fill these gaps, and
They
we
create
have
new
a
ones.
we have a strong dislike for remakes or sequels or prequels or whatever for a simple reason. They don't follow the basic storyline of the movie. They try to always turn something new.
And it's not even something new that's interesting. It's just some stupid ass narrative that they feel they have to. And a lot of movies, and I'm not saying it begins with a W, sort of movement, that if you don't hit these sort of benchmarks, they just put these stupid things in sometimes, and they make no fucking sense to the movie because they're trying to hit and tick boxes so they don't fucking offend people as well who are watching them. And that's not what this actual genre is about. You're never going to please everybody. You either love it or you
Really
hate
not.
it. You're not on the fucking fence. And again, you get that with a lot of movies, not just horror. But that's what it feels like in some of the movies that they've picked, like for Scream, for example, the last two fucking sequels. What the fuck? Do you know what I mean? I was
Yeah,
just like,
it's
no.
they're regurgitating the same things over and over again instead of trying to come up with a new idea that ties in with the movie. Even prequels do it too. And a movie that is very, very good has done it, but they did it in a good way, and that's how it should be done. And to be honest, the movie that I am speaking of is Prometheus.
Hmm.
So I just last night I couldn't find anything to watch, and Prometheus was on Netflix. So I'm like, you know what? It's a great movie. Let me watch it. Throughout the movie, the whole movie does not mention the aliens storyline at all until the end of the movie, because it's literally about them trying to find these creators of the human race. And what they end up finding is, yes, they find the pods. You kind of recognize the pods from, the aliens movies, but there's no mention into them. And the only mention that really gets brought out with the aliens is the very end of the movie. For those who have not seen Prometheus, I do apologize. It will be a spoiler. It was when a creature latches on to the creator of the human race, and then at the very end of the movie, out pops a xenomorph.
It was the
And it's
first,
not,
basically, chest bust type thing, basically. Like,
yes,
proper chest bust.
yes. So it goes to show that when regurgitation is brought up, it can be brought up properly. So when they brought out Prometheus, yes, you recognized a lot from the Alien movies, Wayland Enterprises.
Hmm.
Great. But you thought you were getting something different because there was really no full mention of everything. And then at the end of the movie, the creators of humanity mixed with this creature that was taken out of the girl is the reason why the aliens were created. Hence, it was done properly because it actually showed the buildup, the reason, the why, the how, the alien. Perfectly done. But the regurgitation in sequels, prequels, whatever, throughout the most basic horror movies that could have been great, and they just regurgitated stuff. For example, Scream with these last few movies, it's starting to turn a lot of heads and making people go elsewhere and not horror. Horror no longer has what it needs to have. What do you think is missing from horror? We have discussed this numerous times on a couple other episodes. Research is one of the biggest things.
Research, and if you're going
Um,
to go with something that's got any sort of truth behind it or based on some sort of fact that you're trying to make it horrific, or if it is kind of horror based, please do your research. Look at the lore. If you're going to like fucking try and reiterate and totally plagiarize someone else's work, be fucking clever about it and actually change the main things. Do not, leave your viewers basically watching a movie going, I've seen this movie before. Do you know what I mean? That happens quite a lot. The plot holes
Yep.
in stories where they try and do something stupid and something heartfelt, as it was. It's a fucking horror movie. We don't fucking want heartfelt. If we did, we'd be watching the Hallmark Channel. So don't do that. Don't if you're going to alienate someone in the movie, alienate them. Don't fucking feel like you can't alienate them because, like we said, Get Out. They did something that again they could have been totally what they could have been cancelled for doing that.
This question can honestly also tie in with the next question in the list: is what do you think we can add to the genre? And originality is the biggest thing that can be added to any genre of horror, whether it's sci-fi, futuristic, apocalyptic,
Religion
disease. Yeah, it could.
or zombie, anything supernatural, the lot.
Yeah, it anything that can be added to a genre, especially when it comes to horror, can be originality. Like action movies, you can honestly regurgitate so many times, and people are still gonna love action movies because they're action movie lovers. And a good example of that, we'll take The Expendables.
Apart from the last one, that was awful.
I didn't even get to watch the last one yet, but yes,
No.
it's all regurgitated material. You have a covert op team that is basically non-existent. They're ghosts. They do things that the government won't do. They take care of certain things. At the end of the movie, a lot of blood, a lot of guns, a lot of weaponry, a lot of explosions
It's like
throughout
John Wick.
each and every movie.
It's like John Wick.
Yes,
But it's
but
one
John Wick
guy
basically had
doing
a
one thing.
storyline
He
with
did.
John Wick.
Mm.
Expendables really it has one, but it doesn't have one. It's they have a storyline for each specific movie instead of where John Wick has a storyline throughout each of the movies that is cohesive to all the movies. And then the very last one, what top
But what topic in the genre do you feel is overused and we need to go in another direction? Well, in my honesty, I think it's exorcisms.
yes, exorcisms and to be
And
honest,
sounds bad, but
vampires.
Dracula. Yeah, that's good. I think it sounds terrible, but I think we need to move away from that. And cults as well. I think
Yes,
even though
but
Midsummer was good, I don't think it was great. So I think we need to kind of move away from that. I would really like to see some kind of, like we said earlier today, some really good like psychological
yes,
horror, something that makes you think. We've had
yeah,
enough of like
absolutely.
zombies and shit like that. We want something that's actually making us think outside the box, not just the
Absolutely,
same shit
absolutely. Vampires have been around for years.
ever.
Like her and I were talking about before we even started the couple episodes we recorded today. Bill Skarsgård is playing Count Orloff in the remake of Nosferatu. Nosferatu will be released sometime this year, but it is
An anniversary
102.
one,
Yeah, it's
isn't it?
102 years from the original.
Mm-hmm.
That right there shows how far and few in between that this movie has ever been remade. There was a second part to the movie from
1917.
1922 that was released in 1979 called
Yeah,
Nosferatu the Vampire. That's 50 years. Now we're going
exactly.
another 50 years into the future remaking it. It shows that Nosferatu is one of those movies that never could be remade properly because the original was an original. It was done right. So it's literally taken 50 years and 50 years to do a remake of it. But throughout the years, you've had Dracula, you've had so many vampire movies in between that always had a reference to Dracula, and it's one of those things that it just needs to stop. And I don't mean stop completely. I just mean there is a time
Hey,
and a place for it. And
they have
late,
cycles, and I feel
yeah,
like the cycle needs to stop now. I think
yeah,
since the last Voyage of Demeter, if they stop doing it for now, then that'd be fine. See, maybe waiting 5 years and then maybe looking at doing maybe some supernatural, bringing some werewolves because we've not had werewolves for ages. It's been
yeah.
vampires.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, look at it, because Dracula Untold was a great interpretation of a backstory about who Dracula was.
It was also action orientated and not just
Yes,
horror.
Exactly. It basically, if you guys have not seen Dracula Untold, it's about a king, and the king does happen to be Vladimir the Impaler.
Mm.
The why he turned into Dracula was because he wanted to save his people. That is a story that could be told and actually be memorable.
Also, it's
Because
not that
growing
far from the truth either
Yeah, I
of
mean, growing
Vladimir.
growing up, we know Vlad the Impaler to be a guy that was not exactly the nicest person in the world. But when they shine a originality light on it, showing that he actually took his leave from the army that created the monster to run his own castle to protect people, and then when that army that he left comes to threaten his people, he finds a higher power to be able to protect his people. That is a story that is memorable. That is
It's about
something that could
hero.
leave on. And the fact that they ended the movie in the future,
Yeah.
because
It's
obviously vampires are immortal, and they didn't do a sequel to it, is one of those things. Is they had an originality, they had a topic that could be at least strung on for two movies at least, because they ended it with a cliffhanger. But
it
the
was a good
fact that
cliffhanger though.
it was, because if I can remember correctly, you had Dracula or Vlad
Hmm.
walking away with Lena, which was a girl who he was married to back when he was the king in old times, that died because of the Serbs, which was the army that he left. And then you end up seeing the original vampire that turned him, and the last thing that he says is, "The game is on." That is
And
a
that was it.
perfect way to leave a cliffhanger for a second movie.
Also, that's very warlike and very war talk that the game is
Exactly.
on, basically. It's kind of like shit, the whole, is it Enola Holmes, where she says the game is afoot. That's challenge, like
Yes.
challenge accepted, Barney Stinson. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You have one of your dogs in your lap, don't you?
Yeah, how did you know? Because you heard me pepper.
I could hear her.
Oh, it's because she's a wee piggy, aren't you? Guess she loves someone.
So that's kind of the feel, guys, that we have about the genre being overused and going in another direction.
We still love it. We still love it, but we just would like a change, or maybe them to shake it up a bit. Just fucking
Or
look
just
at
or just
look
take a
at it.
break from it.
Yeah.
Taking a break from it's going to be the best, because then you're going to get out of the whole thing. Because let's take a year or two down the road, you're going to have people start questioning, what happened to the vampire movies, what happened to the Exorcist movies, what happened to this, what happened to that, and then boom, you're going to release one and everybody's going to lose their mind.
Or they can do a poll and see, like, test the waters to see if people are ready for like a new take of vampires. Not a remake, not a prequel, not a sequel. Just fucking bring us something new. Because you're not really giving writers of the future any sort of. You're not really giving them any sort of like push or want to be a horror writer with the shite that we get subjected to, the regurgitation bullshit. You're not really giving people like, oh, I want to be a horror writer kind of thing. So that's where they're going to be losing, is the fact that they're going to be losing new talent because the shit that's about. Because some people won't listen, and then they'll go to somewhere like Blumhouse or somewhere else, and they're like, "Yeah, let's do that," and then they'll literally start doing something, and then it will start to get traction. But it's like, again, is it too little, too late? Who the hell knows? I'm sure we can tell by 2024 how that goes. We'll be in the same position this time next year.
Yeah, I mean, even she brought up a point, and I was thinking about this too. Look at Blumhouse Productions. Again, guys, we are not sponsored. We just love them.
Drinking game. Who's drunk by the
Yes.
amount of times they say that?
Literally, I would probably already be on the floor, and I wouldn't be able to finish this episode at this point. Um,
And rolling your
look
R's
at
is going to be the last of your problems if you're rolling about
Yes,
before drunk.
yes, absolutely. Look at their movies. Besides The Exorcism, The Believer, and The Paranormal Activity, they don't have vampire movies. They don't have really too many Exorcist movies either, besides the couple that I literally just
Spoke about.
named. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they stay away from the what would be the best word to use? They stay away from the
True. Not like
stigmata of the regurgitated horror movies.
the bread and butter of the
Yes,
horror.
yeah. I mean, like I said, Paranormal Activity was their first movie that they came out with a budget of $15,000 and grossed almost over 200 million worldwide.
Well, you could tell it was 15K. I would say it was more about
Exactly.
1,500K because it was fucking shite. That's terrible. But it got them to where they need to be right now. So we don't have to go on about how shite it was. It did them justice.
They're just their quality of movies, the way they are, is they try to be original in almost every sense of the way.
It seems to be.
But yes, they do have their regurgitated movies, like yes, Halloween, but they did it in their way and they did it right. The Paranormal Activity movies, yes, it's a possession type movie. Yes, was it regurgitated from all these other ones that recently came out? Sure. Did they do it in their own special way? Absolutely, because they did it in a camera shot, homemade film type of way. Could the movie have been better? Yes. Am I going to say that's literally a movie that I will never watch because it's complete shit? No, if it's on, I might watch it. It's not the greatest movie in the world, absolutely not. I will say that wholeheartedly. But did it have originality? In a way, yes. Did it have the jump scares, the little freakish horror moments? Absolutely did. If you get scared by that type of stuff, I laughed. It kind of was a little bit of a joke, but then again, Darcy and I are the type of people that when it comes to horror movies, we don't necessarily get scared. And the reason why is because we literally can guess what's going to happen throughout the whole movie. It's just one of those things. So it's kind of hard to put that in there. But it was for its own point original. Like she said, the amount that we could praise Blumhouse Productions, if we turned it into a drinking game, we would probably be keeled over. Our livers would be shutting down. Our kidneys know what to do with us,
My
and our
kidneys and
bodies.
liver are already shutting down at the moment anyway, so it wouldn't be any different. But yes, we're not sponsored by them. We just love what they do, and we, again, when they're doing good things, we praise them. When they do something shit, we fucking tell them a new one too.
And literally, so far out of the whole thing, The Exorcist is the only movie
Yes,
that has been shit.
that Exorcist. It was only
And
the
yeah, and like I said, I have yet to watch Legacy the Craft or the Craft Legacy for the simple fact of it's not the original characters. It's not it's a sequel, I want to say it's a sequel, but it's one of those movies that really should have never been redone as a sequel. Will I watch it because Blumhouse made it? Eventually, if I can't find anything else to watch and it just pops up, maybe.
See, like when they were talking about the Exorcist Believer, do you know what I would actually, now that I'm thinking about it now, would rather have had for the 50th anniversary rather than Believer? Was them talking about the original movie in kind of a documentary style and talking about maybe what could be happening in the future and how the possession films, how they started. See, like the way we did it, the way starting off with original possession, maybe talking about the original guy, then going showing like this is like showing other movies that have used these concepts and use our story and look at what the genre has become, the topic within the horror genre. I would rather have seen that because they'd have to do research. Do you know what I mean? To actually pull that off and then show like, probably the guys who do Blumhouse, they probably do like, Fried King's work. Do you know what I mean? So they could talk about that and talk about what The Exorcist meant to them, and then talk about, you could talk to like, is it Linda? What's her name? What's her name? Who plays Reagan in real life? Forgot her name.
Linda Blair?
Linda Blair. If they spoke to like Linda Blair, maybe some people who they've like been in the movies or people who have worked on even the sequels and the whole hype of the hysteria of The Exorcist, I'd rather have seen that into present day and maybe talk about, or they might in the future tackle this again, this subject through this story, but just leave it open like they could or they couldn't. That's what I would rather have seen. Even though we've done it ourselves, we've broke everything down, I would love to have seen them do that. And different aspects of different directors and writers and how much they've used that as not even a basis, but it made them want to get into the genre. Again, it could revamp the genre, make people think, oh, I could be a horror writer rather than do this. Do you get what I mean? Rather than Disbeliever movie that I was so excited to see, and then it was just like woke as fuck, and it was just it was heartbreaking, man, to watch. Absolutely heartbreaking. Do you think, would you have sat through something that was more factual rather than, that story they tried to pass off?
Yes, absolutely. I can agree wholeheartedly on what you said. It's one of those things where doing something right and doing something for the benefit of money, I can guarantee your audiences, the people that you draw in to watch your movies are going to respect the fact that you chose to do it the right way and not rush it, rather than rush it just to make the money and
Because
not do
that's
your
like,
research and not do your research, not do your lore search, not do your choosing the proper actors, not doing the originality of things. It's people will, even if you put $25,000 in a budget, and obviously that's low for today's money, but $25,000 into a budget and you only make $100,000. That $100,000 that you made proves that people wanted the truth more than anything else. Now, if you were to sit there and be like, well, here's $1 million budget, but we only made $1,001,001, that means you only cleared $100,000 on your budget, and you literally just thrown in big tits and big asses that get shown, and oh, here's an explosion here and here's an explosion here. It's because you guys chose the money instead of the actual facts. And a great example that I can honestly throw in there, and because the movie is not getting a sequel and it's actually kind of sad, is Six Underground. First and foremost, I will say this straight up, it is a Michael Bay movie. So obviously explosions are part of the movie.
I was just going to say, that means the explosion budget will be at its max, or he's had to ask for more money for more explosions because it's Michael fucking
Exactly.
Bay.
But see, here's the thing. It's Michael Bay and it was a Netflix original. So, meaning they had a very large budget for this movie to begin with.
Big monies.
Exactly. But this goes to prove that the bigger the budget doesn't always mean the movies are going to get sequels, especially when, one, you got Michael Bay at the helm, and two, a Netflix original, and Netflix originals have been coming out with fairly decent movies. So you're going to have a very large budget to create a very good movie. Needless to say, Six Underground did not get a sequel and will not be getting a sequel from what I understand, even though it's massive budget.
But a massive budget doesn't mean that it's going to be actually good. It could literally be Michael Bay farting on a fucking drum for all we fucking know.
Yeah, well,
Like
in
CGI.
all honestly, you got to look at it. Michael Bay, Netflix original, big budget, but you also had Ryan Reynolds, big actor.
He also was in Green Lantern. We don't get to pick and choose what movies are supposed to be good or not.
Hey, you know what? That's a fair point.
I'm a DC fan, so I just said it, so come for me all you will. But come on.
But I mean, even Ryan Reynolds knew he fucked up, because how many times do I watch Deadpool and listen to him make fun of his own fucking movie that he was in? Plenty of times.
Yes, and also the hidden ending, was it not? To the
Yes, and
Deadpool, where they
Deadpool
had
2, where he shot
the Green
himself in the head
Lantern.
when he was Weapon X. He shot himself when he was reading the script for Green Lantern. Absolutely.
Yep, he did it for the money because he wasn't as big as he is now. But
Yeah,
didn't get to where he is today without doing the Green Lantern, so there.
exactly. And that goes to prove too, there's also that stigmata too, to where some of these huge Marvel or DC actors were in very shitty Marvel or DC movies beforehand. And we'll take Chris Evans.
Fantastic Four, I knew you were going there.
Yep. He was
It
in
was the hair,
Fantastic
wasn't
Four.
it? With the frosted
It was
fucking tips, wasn't it?
it was the douchey tips, yes. That right there goes to prove actors can make shit movies, but turn around and make multi-million-dollar movies. And I shouldn't even say multi-million, because the Marvel universe is so vastly loved. It's probably multi-billion or multi-trillion at this point. But that just goes to show that big budget movies don't always get the sequels, the prequels, all that. If you were to follow the originality of lore, research, whatever, you'll probably get more followers, even though you might not make a bigger profit. And that just goes like, Listen, Darcy and I do this for the love of it. Darcy does a lot of great research before we even do an episode. I have a script. We have a script, a guideline, not even a script. It's more of a guideline that we go through.
It helps us
Why?
with tangent. It helps us
Yeah,
with tangents, people. Not
definitely helps us
always,
with
just
tangents.
sometimes.
Definitely helps us with tangents, but it also helps to know what we're talking about so we don't give bad quality or bad research to you guys. We want you guys to have our take, our opinion, but have the originality behind it. We have no problems going through this is the movie, this is the synopsis or the description for the movie. Here's what we think. Please give us your thoughts. We want you guys we want your guys' feedbacks. We love to know what you guys honestly think, and you can honestly message us at any time that you guys want. And that's going to lead into the end of this episode. Guys, if you guys want to get a hold of us, if you guys want to message us, if you guys want to talk to us, be a part of our polls, be a part of our questions, and eventually we would love to bring guests onto our show to talk about certain things. You know, we'll give you guys a guideline as well so we don't go busting off on tangents with having somebody, a third party in here, because as you can tell when Darcy and I are together, we do have a tendency to follow a very crooked path, but we always try to stay as close to the main path as possible. But for the Confessions for the Dark Side,
What are we
you can
available on? What are we
for
available on?
well, for Confessions from the Dark Side, we are available on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, at Confessions from the Dark Side, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you guys would love to listen to us, we are on Spotify and Buzzsprout, Amazon Music,
Yep.
and
YouTube.
YouTube as well. If you guys want to get a hold of Darcy, or you guys want to watch anything that she posts or follow her at all, it is Behind the Mask Reviews. The E in behind and the E in the are 3. The S in mask is 5. And
Got
you
it
can
right
follow
this time.
her. I did. You can follow her on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, and Kick. Kick is going to be pretty much the only one that is different. It's going to have a Darcy in front of Behind the Mask Reviews, and the A in Darcy is a 4. And if you guys want to get a hold of me, you guys are more than welcome to. You guys can catch me on YouTube, Instagram, or Twitch. And for any personal confidential questions to where you guys would love to reach out to us, ask us anything
Although
about the show.
don't slide into my DMs with dick pics, please, because I have a husband. I can get dick pics anytime I want to. So I'm not interested.
If you guys want to slide into my DM with dick pics, I will rate them, tell you they look like tiny cucumbers, and get the fuck out of here.
Or tell a bravo.
Or yeah, I might tell you bravo. Who
Yeah.
knows? I am straight. If you guys want to be a smartass and send me dick pics, I will judge the shit out of you. Anyways, if you guys would love to reach us, ask us anything about the podcast, and ask us anything about Darcy or myself, ask us questions about episodes that we have done. If you guys want to have any feedback from us, or if you guys have any suggestions for any future episode that we have, we would love to hear from you guys. Our emails are confessionsfromthedarkside@gmail.com. Behind the Mask Reviews, same spelling as before, at gmail.com. And lunarxrising@gmail.com. You guys can hit us up there. You guys can talk to us. We will get back to you as best as we can, as quick as we can. And we would love to hear your guys' feedbacks, your suggestions, your comments, concerns, anything like that. We would love to hear from you guys. But that is our take on the worst
Tops and
20
tops
yeah,
and bottoms of
tops and bottoms
2023.
of 2023,
And
what we
what
are
we're
looking forward
to.
to in 2024. And we would love to know what you guys are looking forward to in 2024, and let us know what movies you guys thought belonged to the top 5 or the bottom 5 of your guys' 2023. Again, from Confessions from the Dark Side, have a happy new year. I am Lunar Rising.
And I am Darcy Darkness.
Later, guys.
Later.